Dear Kenyan brethren, my name is Wambugu Nyamu of the affairs of the nation of Kenya. The last statement we gave on the state of Kenya was in May 2025. And is coming from the Secretariat of the Kingdom of Zion. And I'm speaking from Madigira, Nyeri. This statement. Today, we stand here on the state of the affairs of the nation. Hey, the cat. Hey. Jabereria rege. In 2025, we also did release a statement on the state of the nation affairs. And this statement is coming from the Secretariat of the statement that has been prepared by the Mount Kenya Prayer Warriors and the YSF. Dear Kenyan brethren, today we stand here to reflect on and agreed to listen to the grievances of the young people. It is then that the cabinet was disbanded and some government officials what followed was mayhem. Innocent youth were arrested left, right, center, even from their own homes and activities. What followed is that many of them were killed, as are still missing. In 2024, service called NIS, in collusion with the Directorate of Criminal Intelligence and Anti-Terror Police Unit, were behind all those atrocities. We even went ahead and men were being incarcerated, tortured, and some of them buried. Unperturbed, the menace continued over time until the international community indulged and there seemed to be a forced slowdown. However, 25. The commemoration of the fallen heroes of 2024 who were advocating for good governance turned bloody when the cold blood jihadists in police vehicles went into shooting and killing spree. We gave a statement indicating that the same departments were involved in kidnappings and cold-blooded murder of the young people. We even indicated that the NIS hired jihadist killers that went on rampage, as we evidenced in the case of the Kiserian Gong shooting, where young people were killed for just picketing against injustices. On the matter of education, in our previous messages, we have decreed massive corruption, greed, and theft of public resources. As we stand today, getting help. while those in universities are in deep financial crisis resultant of the high cost of education that has risen. Capitation to secondary schools and primary schools is not only reduced, but also not dispatched timely to schools, taking managers of these schools. It is prudent to remember that 4 years ago, the average county secondary school fees was about 36,000 to 38,000. Double of up to 75 to 78,000. Education has gone out of reach of many poor pupils and students from poor families. University education was highly subsidized in the previous Uhuru regime, but today the cost of education has increased exponentially and the burden handed over to the already burdened Kenyan parents. And a nation can bequeath to the young cause of the cost of education. On the issue of national debt and economy, dear brethren, you are all aware that by the time Uhuru retired, this country has a government seems to have overborrowed, and we are now talking about figures of 12 trillion. This is despite the fact that the current president had promised not to increase, going to be frugal in utilization of the government and national resources. But what are we seeing? We are seeing massive corruption, greed of the sector that can safeguard our posterity. Brethren, we are aware that the Ruto regime is borrowing more than 1.2 trillion a year, yet on the ground, cost of living is not easing. The national debt are accumulating at high interest rates, which is actually a threat to our national stability. It is not hard to say that Kenya Kwanza regime, led by President Ruto, seems hell-bound to have this country highly indebted so that he can auction it to the highest bidder, whose in this case we know is the new world order globalist. And I think you heard that from the King of Finland when he was here. On our economic status, contrary to what we are being told, that the economy is growing, we are being fed with figures of increased GBT and reduced inflation rates. I don't know, we are being given of figures of reduced inflation rate from 9 to 4%. To the common man and even to businessmen like us, all this is just political talk. The effect of an economy is felt not by figures, but the power of the pocket. Every single businessman in this country, except the corrupt, are complaining about reduced income, while most of them can't even make 50% of their sales of yesteryears in the days of Uhuru. To make the matters worse, most of the business people rely on loans from banks. The interest rates have shot where banks are charging as much as 25 to 27% interest on principal. No country can develop when interest rates go beyond 10%. In fact, in industrialized nations, the average interest rate ranges between 3 to 6%. With these high interest rates, banks are making huge profit. The government in any economy is to develop policies and infrastructure that can sustain growth, ensure financial stability, industrial parks and incubation centers. It was purely a public exercise. And after the exercise, that was the end. The only development that the current regime shamelessly talks about when you are graduating from universities, we found government-supported institutions and structures that supported us to go into industrialization. But at the moment, the economy is stable. On the issue of debt, the issue of corruption and theft of public resources, we can confidently say that 85% of all the debt to hide as loot. And this has affected the cash flow of this nation. Literally, the cash flow is so low because of the holding. And instead of holding, we've been bragging that has reduced. It's not the only day-to-day requirement of a human being. Cost of living is the sum total of requirement in food, transport of 230 in the first place. The current leaders were also leaders in the previous government. Most of them were also in the opposition, and some of them were in parliament making laws, given prescriptions. Hospitals have been given prescriptions. They have, after that, to go to private pharmacies to buy medication. Private hospitals and clinics for imaging procedures cannot be found in government facilities and hospitals. Yet, we allocate billions of shillings every year in our budget to the health sector. Let me give you an example. Or the Consolata Hospital in Matari, who has a bigger capital outlay, who gets more money and medication over the government hospitals. What is the quality of the drugs being sold in chemists around our healthcare? Are they healing the people, or are they creating lifetime dependencies? We are doing a lot of fundraising, and sometimes I ask myself, why should we even have a Ministry of Health and a Minister of Health? Because security is the first task and priority of any government. On the issue of security, which is rarely talked about, occurrences of hired goons attacking innocent citizens in broad daylight, killing and maiming victims, the moral obligation to ensure that criminals are apprehended. We have had many instances of goons burning businesses, police stations, and government offices. We also saw the arrest and prosecution of these goons that caused mayhem. We are on record as Mount Kenya prayer warriors castigating. We are on record that saying that NIS Director General had hired jihadists during the protest who killed and maimed an armed youth. Record highlighting that these missing persons whose parents and kin cannot trace, some of them are buried in that forest. And I repeat, without fear, and taken to a court of law. The DCI and NIS have been taking the law into their hands. Not only did they shoot and maim the demonstrators, they shot to kill and save. They are supposed to ensure integrity of our national boundaries. It is thus unimaginable that Ali Madobe of the Ogaden clan, foreign forces had invaded Kenya. Yet there is photographic evidence. Furthermore, even the governor of the affected county raised the alarm case of a real incursion. The government has been downplaying these incursions as normal. But you all have deeper understanding, are in cahoots with the Jubaland forces of the bigger clan of Ogaden, and that this incursion was not by mistake. It was well crafted, especially in the northern part. The president of this nation has been accused of being in bed with the RSF. I want to refresh you a little bit to learn. Even the former deputy president knows how the clashes were stopped. This is our nation, and our security is paramount. Dear brethren, cause instability. I can confidently say, like I have always said before, that we have celestial intel on these incursions by Al-Shabaab, by Ali Madrid 2027 election disruption. We are aware, just like when JC's demons, goons are being recruited by politicians so that if they are, it has always been campaign based on vendetta, anger, and petty issues that are of little value to this nation. This leads to times of tension and toxic the West style of democracy that was one man, one vote. Why did our starters of this nation go for this? Because they knew that it is easy to manipulate the masses, monetary power, and hence our elections are thus based on mass bribery, rigging, and goons disruption. Today, our country is not better than virtues. In 2023, we implored on the government that it should not allow activities in our nation, and even the president's traditions. Nation choose values, cultures, and traditions. We are Kenyans, and we are culture in this country ever condoned homosexuality. A man wants to marry a man, and a woman wants to marry a woman. Allowing homosexuality and any form of LGBT activities that has been going on in this nation. You have also heard about the sale of human parts and trafficking in this country. You have all heard about Shakahola, where IS and DCI that has even psychics and occult well training have never been able to track the penetrators of the Shaka bodies were being dumped there. Brethren, it has come to be like in Kenya, human sacrifice has become the order of the day. And in many places, detailed even other warehouses where captives are held for human trafficking and body organ. Brethren, you have also noticed these things are happening in hospitals. Remember, he used the word kitawaramba. This man, he knows who others are behind the human rituals, the players behind these rituals. We are aware that prominent people and personalities who include church leaders, political leaders, and business people, Jehovah. You are aware that this nation is the nest of the Almighty God. And I want, dear brethren Kenyans, you listen to this very carefully, as it gives not only the commands current regime, which are just ignored. I'm going to recap some of them. One, the Ruto regime was told to bring to book all those people who were involved into their homes, abducted and shot in cold blood. Others were killed and maimed in police stations. Missing majorities of all the missing youths, the Gen Z and the millennials. From the year 2023, Raila demos to detentions, be stood down and put on suspension forthwith. 4. The President Ruto expressly orders the sealing of the NIS camp at youth are brought to book without any further delay, and that the jihadists hired in these units be arrested and aligned in courts will never take the law into their hands. To kill and to maim innocent and armed people, to secure our borders, and any foreign militia captured and prosecuted. The nation should never forms of LGBTQ activities in this country. 2, that the government arrest and prosecute all LGBTQ activities in this on the issue of God's authority in Kenya, like I mentioned above. And this is crucial. As I end, this will be my last ending. Kenyan brethren, too aware of the higher authority operating in this country, other than the KK regime. He was in Peketoni in 2023 when he experienced it. The director of DCI and NIS are also aware of this. The people mentioned above, including the former deputy president, are aware for that authority to take charge of this nation. Change must occur, and that change is coming before 20. President is aware, and so are the security agencies in this country about the establishment